Liam, sad news about Sam. Just talk us through what you can in terms of how serious it is.
Yeah, it's a bad one, to be fair, in terms of his hamstring. So, yeah, I put numbers and letters on it. So, yeah, it's really severe, so he's going to need surgery. But at the same point, I had a chat with him. He's in quite a good spot mentally. Knowing Belly as well, he'll do everything he can to get back as quick as he can. But I think the important bit as well is when you are out injured that you still learn the game, especially the stage of the career he's at. So he'll continue to do work with the coaches. He'll obviously do his have his surgery, do the rehab with the guys. But I think the biggest bit is come back stronger.
So you'll be setting him some homework then?
Yeah, of course. Sitting with him as well. He's a deep guy in terms of some of the stuff he reads and how he studies the game. So. We'll make sure that we continue to, to coach and to educate and to give him different bits along the way, because I do think there's sometimes a real danger, in terms of players when they get injured, that they don't feel like a footballer and they feel like a gym specialist, a rehab specialist. So again, I think as much as we can, it's involvement. There'll be in all the meetings, and we'll sit down and do some individual stuff with him while he's out as well.
Yeah, and particularly frustrating because he was just showing signs of coming back to the kind of form that he's had in the past.
Yeah, I know we spoke a lot post-match about it. I was really pleased with where he was at. I think sometimes I think what he'd really progressed at was showing a real trustworthy and reliability to his game. I think it's often attacking players chase the 8 out of 10 moments, but it's underpinned then by a 4 out of 10 action as well. Where I think what he'd done a terrific job was finding a level of consistency with the basics. Defensively he was excellent. Reliability with the ball was good, and then I thought the last 3 or 4 games he'd really started to show his attacking quality as well. So. Yeah, it was, like I say, frustrating for him and hugely frustrating for me.
It's the way it happens sometimes, but with it being a serious hamstring injury, Tommy had one earlier in the season, Rob has had one. In the past, the club has had a bit of an issue with hamstrings. Is that at all a concern for you?
I think it's probably a wider concern for the game, I think it's not just here. I think if previous clubs I've been at, conversations with other coaches, if you read stuff in the media, I think it's a bigger thing across the game rather than just here. Of course, it's something that we have to look at, we have to delve into, and I know the guys are doing some work on it at the moment and getting some people in. I think it's really important that we, do everything we can to identify why, and be proactive with it rather than, trying to constantly react. So, again, I know the programme we run is very good. So, again, but what I think we are is, obsessed by improving and getting better, so we'll definitely be looking into why. So
that's the sort of negative, the frustrations. You had a much stronger looking bench at the weekend. Are some of those players more in contention to get more minutes than the likes of a Mark Sykes or a Scott Twine, who I don't think you felt could do a full half if you needed them?
Yeah, they're much closer, to be fair. So Sykes, he's had a couple of sessions this week, so he's in a much better place. As a Twine, he trained today. So again, I think the time is a big thing with those guys. So I think now they've had a bit more training time, they're in a much better position to get more minutes. And
Cam Pring, is it possible that he might be available for the weekend?
Yeah, he's returned to training, so hopefully he can be involved as well.
Okay, which is all good news. It gives you different headaches. I guess the positive with that is that you've had a week without a midweek game, so we know the players got a little bit of rest. Do you think that puts you in a stronger position to play your strongest team without having to worry about minutes and loads and red zones and all that?
Red zones. Yeah, no, I think it's one of those. I think the strongest team changes game to game, right? I think it's dependent on the opposition, how we set up, how we think we can get success. So the breathing space was massive. I think, in terms of, like I said, 2.5 months of a game every 4 days is relentless. So, the lads had Sunday, Monday off, which was definitely needed physically and mentally. We're in training Tuesday and today. So, again, good opportunity to make sure that we cover some of the principles of how we work, what we do, and obviously look into the game plan. And we've used it as an opportunity to kind of work on some of the bits that weren't quite right against QPR. So it's that combination of general principles and habit forming, reviewing and trying to, coach and educate on some of the bits that weren't quite right at the weekend, and obviously a chunk of work to get ready for the weekend. So we coach everybody, we coach all the lads. All the lads need to be clear on their roles, because I do think, even if the programme drops a little bit, there will be tweaks and changes depending on who we play and how we think we can get success.
Yeah, and with that, it's 1 week, so it's an extra session possibly in terms of what you've had before. How many more of those? How long before you've seen some changes in the way that the team are playing? But I get the sense you're still a way away from where you'd like them to be. Is it something that is going to be? Are we talking months down the line before you'd be happier?
Yeah, I'm happy with a lot of it. I think in terms of when you look culturally, how hard the lads work and how they compete, and like I said, after QPR, it wasn't a lack of effort or attitude. I think it was maybe elements of fatigue mentally. But again, if I could put a time frame on it, it would be worth a lot of money. I think players learn and teams learn at different rates. So again, I think I've been really impressed by how quickly the lads have picked up so many aspects here. And again, the mood in the space of a week can change so much. Everyone's thinking we've cracked it after Southampton. A week later, after QPR, everyone's rock bottom. So for me, for us, we stay level and we stay consistent, which I think is really important. The lads have done a terrific job of, embedding the culture that we want. They're constantly, improving and learning in terms of how we want to play. And I looked at it, QPR being the 8th game of a heavy block. It was the first time in 8 games we'd faced a low block. So the 7 before that, it was tended to be against the side that come up and got out and got after us. So again, I think I knew we weren't quite, we're not quite ready in terms of real understanding of how you play against a low block and beat it. But again, that's something. Even the meeting we've had, the lads were terrific in the meeting on Tuesday. They're constantly learning and progressing, and that understanding will come.
And you're right to sort of pick out the highs and the lows. That's the way that fans work. You've preached to try and stay level as much since you've been here. Is that an easy thing? It maybe for you, but for a squad of players, is it easy to try and get them into that mindset?
Yeah, I think so. I think the staff have to role model it. And I think the staff do a good job of that. Of we don't go crazy high when we win, and we don't go uber low when we lose. And again, I think that's the biggest bit. I think is sometimes enjoying the journey a little bit, which isn't easy. But I see every experience as an opportunity to learn, and that's what we make sure that we do. We go through the same process, irrespective of performance and result. And then obviously we deliver it in a way where it's all about improving. It's all about getting better, and that's ultimately how you have to work. So again, I think we've had some terrific learning experiences in the last, especially the last month, 6 weeks, that are only going to make us better in the future.
And I was just thinking about some of the matches over the last few months, and actually a lot of your really good performances have come away from Ashton Gate. There have been some there as well, with obviously Southampton being maybe top of that. But do you think that's maybe a part of where some of the fan frustration comes from, that actually a lot of your really good performances, whether it's Watford or Middlesbrough or the 2 cup games, a lot of those fans wouldn't necessarily have seen themselves?
We did all right in the cup games at home as well. I thought the performances were very good at home against Forest and West Ham. I think there's been definitely second half against Watford. I think there's definitely been some good performances. I think we spoke about it not long ago. I think there's an element of where the world's at now. Everybody wants everything. They want the perfect performance and the result to go with it, which across a 50 odd game season can be quite challenging. So I get the frustration. I get the emotional side of it. You want people emotionally invested, but at the same point, I think, like I said, it's the fans perform as well, right? And again, I think they've, majority of the time done an outstanding job of getting behind the lads and supporting them, which is huge, especially, when you can see the lads are a little flat at the weekend and need that lift. It's getting behind them and giving them that boost, because it can, as I said before, shift momentum in games, which is so important. So again, I think it's of course on us and the players to make sure that we turn up, we give everything that we've got, and hopefully we can perform to a high level.
So Sheffield Wednesday this weekend, and a team that's had a fair bit of upheaval this season. What are you expecting from them?
Championship football, right? When you see this crazy week, intense side. I think they're quite adaptable. I think he's done an extremely job since he's gone in there. I think when you look at them, recent results are good, and performances reflect that. Even the second half against Leicester, they performed well. So again, I think they're a side that I think are quite dangerous, purely from how well organised and how how aggressive they are. I think when you look at it, they try to play on the front foot and they do it for a well organised structure. So it's another extremely difficult game. I think we've spoken lots. The margins are so fine in the Championship that you only have to be marginally off it and you can be in trouble.
Thank you very much.
On the hamstrings, you said that your experience at MK Dons, Oxford as well. Why do you think that is then?
If I had that, I'd be a multi-millionaire, I think.
But there's got to be some theories there.
Yeah, I think there's the bits you get back, the game's getting quicker, athletes are getting more powerful, blah, blah, blah. I'm not an expert in that field, to be fair. I think that's the biggest bit for me. Of course, I have to have a knowledge base and understanding of the football program that we run physically. But obviously, there's you've got the physical and the the medical department as well. So it's a collective. Like I say, it's a common-wide problem. I don't. You speak with a lot of other coaches. There's so many hamstring injuries now. Like I said, if anybody knew the answer to that, I think they'll make a lot of money from it. So it's something that needs to be definitely looked into in detail, because it can't continue ultimately.
When you said, sorry, I don't know the exact quote you said earlier. When you said about the people here are getting some people in to have a look at it. with reference to Sam and the hamstrings. Could you expand on that in terms
Yeah,
of...
no, I think it's just, I think leaning on, sometimes I think, having a neutral perspective and having, someone else cast their eyes over things, I think can support what you do anyway. It's by no means questioning what we deliver, because again, I know the work that we do is good. So again, I think it's getting an external opinion. I think just sometimes can see something that you don't. I think it's the same as, as a coach, you go and see other coaches' work to learn. So again, I think it's, like I said, speaking with a lot of other people in the game, it's not just here, it's across the game where it's such a big issue. That ultimately, when you look at it, the resources are increasing, the investment in physical development, recovery facilities is constantly going up. What in theory should happen then is injuries come down, which isn't the case. So again, it's something that, again, like I said, we're definitely going to look into to make sure that it's something that we can improve.
So when that neutral person or body, what is that? Like, is that?
It's just a discussion. It's more. I wasn't in the call, so I'm going to be. You're getting it third hand off me. And I was speaking with Dell. I think in terms of he's spoken with some people that he knows to basically bounce ideas off them. Because again, I think that, like I said, if anybody had the answer, I think, like I said, it'd be shared across the game. So it's something that I'm open to. I think we have to be open to learn, to improve, to get better. Is try and learn off different people.
On Sam as well, it's interesting you brought up about sort of his building his knowledge when he's out, because there was an example a couple of years ago, Antoine Semenyo, where he had an injury, basically wiped out his whole pre-season, start of the season. And when he came back, he'd almost improved sort of 10, 15% kind of his just various aspects of his game, his awareness, the time of his runs. He just looked a better player, despite having come back from an injury. And he said he did a heck of a lot of analysis and homework when he was away. So what sort of stuff will you, I appreciate it's very early as well, but like what sort of thing will you want to sort of work with Sam on?
I think understanding the position he plays, I think that you'll always address. And I think some of it's learning, some of it's recognising what you've done already that's good and kind of confirming that. So we'll do everything. I think different times, straight away after the surgery, it's more empty head, kind of clear. And I think when you're out for a few months, it's then the phases of it. So, we'll drop some bits in, then we'll leave him for a little bit. And then, especially just before he comes back training, I think you then start to increase, the amount of contact that the coaches have with him, so that he starts to get his brain up to speed with some of the pictures that he's going to need to see. And it's just revisiting that. It's in possession, out of possession. What's your role? It's studying people that you maybe role model your game off a little bit, and how do you learn off best practice and what that looks like. So it'll be a combination of everything, to be totally honest. I think it'll be like I said, we're very much strengths and needs, work on what he's really good at, and then also the little bits that he needs.
Again, I'm not doing a question to try and force you to tell me what the team is, as I do every week. But every week. That's what I'm doing. It's another hypothetical one, I swear. Yeah. But with Cam, is there a world where him and Hayden can play in the same team together?
Yeah, of course there's a world for that.
And how would you see that, do you think?
I think, again, if you're asking me the team again,
I'm not.
It's not there. Every week he asks me the team. Of course you can. If you played a back three, you could play Hayden on the left of a three and Cam wing back if you wanted to, for example. And as I've said to you, I'm open to. For me, it's studying the opposition. It's being clear our principles, how we play, what structure we work off, and then ultimately going who fits the slots best to get us success. So again, if that's Hayden and Cam playing together and you want that, then it might happen in the future. Who knows? Because
it's interesting you say about Hayden on the side of a three, because that's kind of where he was until last season when he went to Derby and Liam Rossignol and Paul Warren then kind of moved him into a fullback, and he was signed there as a fullback, but he always brings it up that he wants to be a centre back one day. So you can see him moving back into that role. Or
I think if you look at him coming through at Brighton, especially, he played most of his stuff was as a centre back. Exactly. To be fair, so I think he's. If you look as well how we play our three, the outside tends to be. We've done it with Hayden recently, where he steps in higher. So again, I think what he's got is the qualities that he can go and play and support and then join from behind. I think he's got those qualities to be able to do that. So again, for me, it's less on the position and more on what strengths do they bring and do they fit for the like I said, the criteria for what we need in that game.
On the sort of the block debate, how would you analyse Sheffield Wednesday in that context under Danny Roll? Do you feel because they're not a high possession side? I appreciate he's built up a little bit more, but fundamentally there are sort of QPR-y aspects to them. Yeah. And how much are you going to need to improve to get a result on that for this weekend?
Arsenal found it tough against the block last night, right? I think that when you look at the game is such a... The perception when you've got loads of the ball is it should be easy to break down, which, like I said, the Champions League, highest level of the game, you see it last night against the really well-organised coach block is difficult. And again, I think that in terms of... There's definitely elements where they're extremely well-organised. I think what they do a good job of is going from kind of a mid-block to press and then back to low block. So I think they move between the phases out of possession extremely well. Make the pitch compact, they're quite aggressive. So again, I think there'll be elements that at times will look similar to QPR, but at the same point, you know, they might engage higher up, especially being at home as well. So my biggest bit, we can't control what they do or how they're going to come out. I think all we can do is understand that, you know, what we can control, which is us, our game plan, how we work, how we get success, how we problem solve. And again, like I said, we obviously done a week of beat the block after the back of QPR, but I think some of that's just as important to kind of learn from post-game as always, just right into the next one. I think it was a good opportunity this week to address it. So if it comes out, if the lads pick it up, great. If not, it's something that, you know, we'll constantly revisit. And again, I think you can see it, the out of possession now, you can see the work we've done on it and we've revisited it lots. And you can see the players have learned large elements of it and it's becoming habit. Again, I think what you can't do when you don't get any training time is make everything habit and be perfect in every phase of the game. So we've obviously had to give a little bit in certain areas. So, you know, given that we haven't played against the block too often, we haven't addressed it too often. So it's something that we obviously spoke about the weekend, spoke about this week. And again, it's something that, you know, we know that we'll have to revisit again in the future.
What do you see as kind of the key principles? Talk about mentality, patience, all that kind of stuff. But like on the ball, what are the fundamentals to a perfect game plan to get through that?
For a block?
Yeah.
I think it's understanding what you're looking for. So there was a lot of opportunities. We did a video session on Tuesday, which the players led a large part of, which was quite good. There was loads of opportunities where ultimately it's about dominating mini games or overloads for me, and we had that. We didn't put the ball wide quick enough on Saturday. So again, when you play against the block, they tend to put their bodies in the middle of the pitch and concede space in front and outside of you. So it's then a case of you have to move extremely quickly across the pitch. When you do and get around the outside of the block, how do you then, you know, is it a 1v1, which Belly obviously did well before going off? Is it a little 2v2, 3v3? How do you make sure you come out on top in those games? And there's different ways, little counter movements, little duels, little combinations where you can do that. But the whole point is you have to get it there first. So, you know, when we've looked at it, it's let's get the ball there, and then when you do get the ball wide, how do you now hurt them? So they're bits, and again, I think how we work, and I think what's so important is we give the players the solutions and the pictures. They then have to make the decision in game, which again I think is our job to then coach them to make the right decision more often than not. You know, it's all well and good doing a pattern, but if it's not the right pattern at the right time, then the opposition stop it. So for me, we work real hard to produce good decision makers. Because
you also said, I think it was with the radio on Saturday, at times, obviously the quality of the pass, it wasn't just the speed of the pass, but the quality of the pass, if it's maybe slightly raised, slightly behind, that has a huge impact, therefore, when you're trying to create overloads. So for all basically the build up, the patterns you can sort of try and lay out, unless the execution is there, it's kind of irrelevant.
Yeah, behaviours and basics. I think that it always starts with that. I think, you know, especially the speed the guys move at and the intelligence of the players and how well organised teams are. If, like I say, if I need to put it in front of you and I put it behind you, that's a difference of 2-3 metres of them getting across the pitch or not. So again, the detail is so important. It's in the same seeing the picture. If you see the picture late, the space that was there is now gone. So again, I think, you know, that against coaching to teach the players to know what they're looking for. So you can actually then make the right decision because you know what you're looking for, which takes time. So again, I think it's that the behaviours and the basics get you the 6 out of 10 for me. And we weren't, not enough of us were 6 out of 10 at the weekend. So if you get your behaviours and your basics right, you're in the game, you're competitive, you've got a chance of controlling it. And then obviously, of course, you then need people to step up and, you know, be 7s and 8s. So again, that's it. There's definitely the detail in the basics, and then it's obviously the tactical stuff on top after that.
Last one from me. I just wondered, this week, Michael Beale, Joe Edwards have both lost their jobs, which is just astonishing, really, at the time that they've been in the role. I mean, Michael Beale, Sunderland, the win with Mike Dodds in charge, they appoint Michael Beale, and the next time he plays Sunderland, Mike Dodds is going to be in charge again, which is obviously just bonkers. I just wondered if, because they are contemporaries of yours, I don't know if you know them particularly well, Joe, you may well know. Yeah. I just wondered if you had an opinion on that, Championship clubs doing that, and what that kind of says about the league and the game as a whole.
Makes me think I'm mad for signing up to work in the industry. Right? I think I was talking to Brian about it. Brian came down the office. We had a coffee and we were chatting about it this morning. Each club, it's their prerogative, right? They've clearly, I think it's easy to sit here and bash decisions, but until you're in it and you know why and what's going on, I think you have to. I try to remain fairly neutral because I don't know the ins and outs of it. I also then think in terms of, I look at us here in terms of understanding. I'm not sure the impatience and changing things quickly in the long run. You might get short-term gains, but I think you have to have real clarity on where you're going and how you want to get there. And again, I think that, like I said, when I first came in, was a big attraction of coming here, speaking with Brian, was around what we're trying to build, how we get aligned, the direction we're going in, but also the process and the journey you go through to get there. Because it doesn't just happen overnight. I think if you want to, be successful and you want to sustain success, I think that takes time. So the championship's mad. I think I wouldn't like to think how many clubs have had 3 managers this season, which is incredible, to be totally honest. But like I said, I'm sure they've got their reasons for doing it, their decisions. It's not nice. I don't like seeing any manager lose their job because I can totally appreciate the position they're in. So, but like I said, we sign up for it the second we take the positions. We know what we're stepping into. We know the pressures that come with it. Like I say, you just sometimes hope you get the backing and the support and the time.
Thanks, Liam.